Holy pickle chips, I'm not ready for this. Welcome back to Mana Chamber. We're going to be doing, I guess, uncommons today from the March of the Machine set. Ranking all of the commons, picking a best, picking a worst. This is going to be a long one, I think. If you want to subscribe to the channel, that'd be super sick. Here we go. Artistic Refusal. 2 blue, and 4, it's an instant, it has Convoked. I choose one or both, counter target spell, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. So I could counter spell, could draw 2 and discard. I'd have to have at least 6 creatures out or extra mana or something. It's got a couple options. It's expensive, boy. We're going D. I'm just going off the bat with D here. So, Astral Wingspan, another Convoke card, an enchantment aura for a blue and 4. Enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has flying. So what? It's a little cheaper. You get to draw a card. I'd say this is better than the other card. You're making a guy stronger too. So, Astral Wingspan, a C. Axe Guard Artisan. A Dwarf Artificer for a red and 1. He's a 2/1. Whenever one or more +1 counters are put on Axe Guard Artisan for the first time each turn, create a treasure token. Oh, nice. If you got a counter deck, getting treasure on top of that ramp, I think that's pretty good. And he's pretty cheap on B. All right, so you got the Blight Reaper Thallid. It's a black and 1 for a fungus 2/2. That has Phyrexian green and 3 to transform it. You can only activate that as a sorcery. It transforms into Blight Sower Thallid, a Phyrexian fungus 3/3. When this creature transforms into Bright Sower Thallid or dies, create a 1/1 green Phyrexian sapling. So basically, you're going to get 3 creatures all in all. It's going to cost you a bit of mana to get there. It's kind of fun. We're going with C, I think, on this guy. So you got the Botanical Brawler. He's a white and a green elemental warrior 0/0 with trample. He enters the battlefield with 2 +1 counters on it, so he's at least a 2. Whenever one or more +1 counters are put on another permanent you control, if this is the first time +1 counters have been put on that permanent this turn, put a +1 counter on Botanical Brawler. Very wordy, but again, if you're doing +1 counters, it's pretty good. He'll get even bigger. He's cheap. We're going B. So we're going with the Captive Weird here. 1 blue for a weird 1/3 defender with Phyrexian red and 3 to transform it as a sorcery into the Completed Conjurer. A 3/3 Phyrexian weird. When this creature transforms into itself, exile the top card of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play that card, so you're getting one of those impulse draws. It's kind of cheap. You got defender. It's a good defense. We're going C. We're for sure going C. Nothing wrong with this boy. Change the equation for a blue and 1 instant. Choose 1 counter target spell with mana value 2 or less, or counter target red or green spell with mana value 6 or less. So kind of specific, has some options. If you're playing playing against red or green, you got better options. It's cheap enough. I think we're going to go with a C on this particular counter. So Collective Nightmare, a black and 2 instant with Convoke, so pretty cheap with Convoke. On top of that, target creature gets -3/-3 until the end of the turn. I actually really like this card. It's removal. You could Convoke it, get it out for free, as long as you have 3 creatures. I think I'm going to go with a B on this one as well. Who is close to a name, but it's a B. Completed Huntsmaster. Phyrexian Elf Warrior 2/3 for a black and 2. You can pay 1 and tap it to sack another creature or artifact and incubate 3. That's kind of cool. You're sacking, you need a sack deck. We're going C on this one. The Copper Host Crusher. 2 green and 6. big boy Phyrexian Bear Rhino 8/8 trample hexproof, just coming at you, just expensive, just mean. Nothing wrong with him. He's going D though. He's just so expensive. I mean, he's a game ender if you get him out, but well, maybe. I guess it depends on the game you're playing. So, blue and 4 for Corruption of Tawashi enchantment. When Corruption of Tawashi enters the battlefield, incubate 4. Whenever a permanent you control transforms or a permanent enters the battlefield under your control transformed, you may draw a card. Do this only once each turn. So you get some card draw. This is cool in like an incubate or a transform deck. It's kind of expensive. C. Elspeth Smite. A 1 white instant that does 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile instead. I think that's mean. It's just cheap. It's definitely a white removal. We're going B. Elvish Vat Keeper. A green and a black and 1 for a Phyrexian Elf 3/3. When he enters the battlefield, incubate 2. You can pay 5, transform target incubator token you control, and double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. It could be super sick in an incubator deck. We're going to see though. All right, the Fearless Scald. It has backup 1 and double strike. Give it to double strike and red and 4 to cast this Dwarf Berserker 3/2. Kind of expensive given double strike. It's a kind of expensive for double strike. It's just tough. I think you might not like it, but I'm going D. All right, the Furnace Gremlin, a red and 1 for this Phyrexian Gremlin 1/2. You can pay a red and 1, and he gets +1/+0 until the end of the turn. When he dies, you incubate X, where X is his power. So like, it's gonna be expensive to get a real strong incubator with it. He can buff. He's got a little death trigger. That's kind of fun. I think we're gonna sit him on the D train here. So Furnace Reigns, a red and 2 for the sorcery. Gain control of target creature until the end of the turn. Untap it until the end of the turn. It gains haste, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or battle, create a treasure token. I think cards like this are great. Gain control cards are awesome. You can like untap your dudes. You can gain control of enemies, obviously. But this, when you create a treasure token, that's like the way to go in my opinion when it comes to one of these. This is an A. This is an A tier. We got Gift of Completion for a black and 1 enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you incubate 3. Whenever a Phyrexian you control dies, you surveil 1. Good for a reanimator Phyrexian deck. Fairly cheap. Surveil is kind of like Scrying, but it can also be worse. Man, I think this one's going B. I think that's a good card. We got Glistening Deluge for 2 black and 1. It's a sorcery. All creatures get -1/-1 until the end of the turn. Creatures that are green and or white get an additional -2/-2 until the end of the turn. So green and white board wipe, hurting some other dudes. It's kind of fun. We're going C. There is Not Volt Herman. Not Volt Hermit, a green and 3 for a 4/4 troll. He has a Phyrexian blue and 5 to transform him as a sorcery speed. See if I can get this boy transformed. I can read him. So the Chrome Host, he transforms into Chrome Host Hulk. It's a Phyrexian troll 5/5. Whenever he attacks, up to 1 target creature has base power and toughness 5/5 until the end of the turn. That's he's kind of expensive. He can be kind of mean, but we're going D tier for the expense on him. Halo Forager, a black and blue and 1 fairy rogue 3/1 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay X. When you do, you may cast target instant or sorcery card with mana value X from a graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into graveyard, exile it. So if you got good mana, this could do some really cool stuff. Flying 3/1s always mean you can just hurt some people. I think this is worthy of a C. I think it'd be worthy of a C. Why not? So we got the Harried Artisan for a red and 2. It's a 2/3 human artificer with haste. For a Phyrexian white and 3, you can transform him into the Phyrexian Skyflare. Phyrexian Artificer 3/4 with flying and haste. So just, coming in hot all the time. I don't see anything wrong with this. I mean, it's in my book, I see. It's not too expensive or anything. Herbology Instructor, a green and 1 for a Treefolk Druid 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. For a black and 6, you can transform it at sorcery speed into Malady Invoker, or Malady Invoker. When this creature transforms into Malady Invoker, target creature an opponent controls gets -0, -X until the end of the turn, where X is its power, essentially. So pretty much a -3 on one thing, unless you have a way to beef chief it up. It's kind of expensive to transform it. You get some life. You got a little back end blocker on the front. I think we're going D tier on this guy. It's just 1 targeted destruction. Not quite in my forte, in my opinion. And here we go into the long stretch of all these freaking invasions, which is not a bad thing. I'm saying it like it's a bad thing, but it's not. Here we go. Invasion of a Monkette. So it has 4 counters on it for a black, a blue, and 1. When it enters the battlefield, each player mills 3 cards, then each opponent discards a card, and you may draw a card. So, it's kind of nice. You get some draw. It'll flip into a Lazotep Converter, zombie 4/4. You may have Lazotep Convert enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature card in the graveyard, except it's a 4/4 zombie in addition to its other colors and types. So get a cool ability back. I think this card's actually pretty dang nasty, if you ask me. If you get a copy back from a graveyard or something mean, I guess I'm going to hit the A tier on this one for the discard and draw card advantage. Okay, I guess we're going that. Invasion of Azgol. This, battle siege, 4 counters. When it enters the battlefield, target player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker and loses 1 life. Ping them, hit them where it hurts a little bit, flip it into the Ashen Reaper, 2/1 zombie elemental with menace. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on Ashen Reaper if a permanent was put into a graveyard from the battlefield this turn. So if you're destroying things, or you're making sure things are getting destroyed. Sacked. This is pretty mean. It's only a red and a black. Pretty cheap. 4 to flip. I don't know. We're going C, I think, on this one. All right. On to the Invasion of Belanon, a white and 2 with 5 counters. When it enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 white and blue night creature token with Vigilance. Okay. Harder to flip, more expensive. Turn it into Belanon War Anthem. Creatures you control get +1/+1. God, that is mean, though. All of that is mean. I think we are going to shove this one into the B tier. I mean, +1/+1 on all your creatures. You get a Vigi creature. I'm in with it, Yeah, that was a cough. Here we go. A white and 2 for Invasion of Dominaria. We got a 5 counters on it, too. When it enters the battlefield, I gain 4 life. I draw the card. That's really nice. Those are good things, especially for 3 mana. Flip it into a Flying Vigilance 4/4. Life gain, draw a card. You get a Flying Vigi. Kind of hard to flip. I dig it, though. So we're going B tier? Yep, we're going B tier. Invasion of Eldraine. When the Invasion of Eldraine enters the battlefield, the target opponent discards 2 cards, just 1 opponent, for a black and 3. 4 counters to flip it into the Prickle Fairies. 2/2 flying fairy. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has 2 or fewer cards in their hand, Prickle Fairies deals 2 damage to them. It's kind of cool. It's kind of specific. I mean, if you flip it, you're doing the damage. It's kind of nice. I don't know. This isn't amazing, though, so we're going with a D tier on this bad boy. Moving on to the Invasion of Ergamon for a green and red. When it enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. Then you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card for 5. Flip it over into Truga, Cliff Charger, Rhino 3/4 with Trample. When he enters the battlefield, you may discard a card. If you do, search your library for a land or battle card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. I've seen people do some crazy stuff with this. I actually think it's super good. A tier on this beast. Getting some treasure, getting rid of a card you may not need, getting a card you may need. It's just nice. Okay. The Invasion of Kaladesh for a red and blue. 4 counters to flip it. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying, and then it flips into Etherwing Golden Scale Flagship. 4 and an asterisk, so flying. Etherwing Golden Scale Flagship's power is equal to the number of artifacts you control, so it's at least 2/4 when it flips with flying. It's got crew 1, so you could crew it with like your Thopter even that you made. I'm not gonna say it's like super cool though, but it can be handy. I think we're going D tier on this one. Could have even been F maybe. Invasion of Kamigawa for a blue and 3. It has 4 counters on it. When it enters the battlefield, tap target artifact or creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. I love stun counters. Rooftop Saboteurs, it flips into. It's a 2/3 flying. When it deals combat damage to a player or battle, you draw a card. I don't see anything too wrong with this. I like it. You get some card advantage. Yeah, we're going C tier. You know it. I know it. Invasion of Kailim, a white and red in 2. It's got 5 counters to flip. When it enters, you put up to 2. When it enters up to 2 target creatures, get +2/+0 and gain vigilance and haste until the end of the turn. So deal some damage, have some blockers, flip it into a sorcery. Create 2 3/2 red and white warrior creature tokens with, whenever this creature and at least one other creature token attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. That's actually kind of a cool thing to flip into. I like that. I think that bumps it up to a C for me. Yeah, here we are. We're moving along into the Invasion of Lorwyn for a green, a black, and 4. That's big. 5 flip, also big. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-elf creature an opponent controls with power X or less, where X is the number of lands you control. So probably at least 6. I mean, it could be less, obviously, if you have ramp, but, if you just hard cast this with land 6, it flips into Winnowing Forces, an elf warrior with asterisk. Their power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. So great for a land deck. Super expensive. Destroy. Okay, so I think we're hitting this in the D. It's just so expensive. Like, that's the only worry I have with it. The Invasion of Mercadia, a red and 1. It's got 4 to flip. When it enters the battlefield, you may discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. Get a little card advantage. Flip it into Chiron, Flamewright, a goblin spell shaper 3/3 that has a red and 2 tap. Discard a card. Create 2 1/1 blue and red elemental creature tokens. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until the end of the turn. Super weird. I'm not super into it though. D tier. I'm sure in the right deck it can do some amazing things, just like anything. But that's just how we go. So, the Invasion of Moag. So a white and a green and 2. It's got 5 to flip. Whenever it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. That's pretty nasty, actually. Flips into Bloom Wielder Dryads. A 3/3 Dryad with Ward 2. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. This is actually super beastly. We're going B tier on that one. That's just Beast Mode City. Even though it's not a beast, it's a Dryad. Going into the Invasion of Muraganda, a green N4 with a 6 to flip. Jeez, when it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then that creature fights equal to one target creature you don't control. Okay, and then big flip into Primordial Plasm and Ooze 4/4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature gets +2/+2 and loses all abilities until the end of the turn. This card is so weird. I like it in my Ooze deck in Paper Magic because it's got an Ooze backside, but it's still weird. It's going D tier from me, dog. And then on to the Invasion of New Capenna, a black and white 4 to flip. When it enters, you may sacrifice an artifact or creature. When you do, exile target artifact or creature an opponent controls. That's mean. Real mean. Flips into Holy Frazzle Cannon. Holy Frazzle, my guy. It's an equipment. Whenever an equipped creature, or whenever the equipped creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature and each other creature you control that shares a creature type with it, an equip cost of 1. So you want it in a creature type deck. You got removal. You may want some Zac. I don't know. I'm kind of down with this card. We're going to put it in a B tier as well. Interesting. Okay. Then we're going to see the Invasion of Pyrulia. For a blue and green 4 to flip. When it enters the battlefield, scry 3. Then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land or double face card, draw a card. Land or double face card, draw a card. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so it flips into the Gargantuan Slab Horn. It's a 4/4 beast with trample, ward 2. Other transform permanents you control have trample and ward 2. If you're going into a heavy trample or a transform deck, that would be super nasty. If it's a land or a double face card, draw a card. Yeah, this card is just so weird. It's too specific for me to say it's absolutely amazing. It's pretty cheap. We're going D tier on this one, I think. Yes, D tier. I gotta reorganize these. There we go. D tier. Oh, got me a drink because my voice was getting crispy, and now we back into the Invasion of Regatha, red and 2, 5 to flip. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to another target battle or opponent, and 1 damage to up to 1 target creature. And then it flips into the Disciples of the Inferno, a 4/4 human monk with prowess. If a non-creature source you control would deal damage to a creature, battle, or an opponent, it deals that much damage +2. This is kind of cool. You could flip a battle if you wanted. You could hurt to another target battle. Only a battle, though. So you're only going good if this is a battle deck with a lot of, instant sorceries, non-creature spells. Kind of weird, but I dig it. C tier for me, my guy. So, the Invasion of Olgratha, a black and 4. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to any other target, and you gain 3 life. 5 to flip it into Grandmother Ravi Singir, a 3/3 human wizard with flying. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Grandmother Ravi Singir, and you gain a life. That's nice. Kind of crazy. It's too expensive though for me, so we're going D tier. Then there's this Invasion of Vryn, a blue and 3, and when it enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards and discard a card. So you're really drawing 2, 4 to flip it into the overloaded Mage Ring. Pay 1, tap it, sack it, copy a target spell you control. So, that could be a creature you cast when it's on the stack. It's got some pretty crazy things. I actually like this card a lot. I think I would throw this into the B tier because I like copy effects and I'm weird like that. Then we're going to the Invasion of Xerex, a blue, a white, and 2 When it enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target creature to its owner's hand. 4 to flip it into the Vertex Paladin, a asterisk angel knight with flying, and its power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. So I would say this is like in a token deck. This is sweet. You return 1 single creature for 4. I think this is... Ooh, buddy. This is kind of tough, actually. +1 for each creature you control. In the right deck, it could do amazing things. We're going with D tier, I guess. Oh, my buddy. Is this the last one? Okay, the last invasion. The invasion of Zendikar. A green and 3. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle 3 to flip. Cheap flip, actually. Awakened Skyclave. 4/4 elemental with vigilance haste. As long as it's on the battlefield, it's a land in addition to its other types, and you can tap it to add 1 of any color. This is just ramp city for 4. I actually dig this a lot, I think, because of the way it ramps. It's just an expensive ramp, but I guess I'm putting A tier. Wow, okay. So, into the Joyful Storm Sculptor, a red and blue and 3, Human Shaman 2/3. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 blue and red elemental creature tokens. Whenever you cast a spell that has Convoke, Joyful Storm Sculptor deals 1 damage to each opponent in each battle they protect. What a strange, expensive, specific card. I think I'm hitting the F tier on that one. It could be amazing in the right deck, but it's a fail for me for this time. And then we got the Kami of Whispered Hopes, green and 2 for a 1/1, and if 1 or more +1 counters would be put on a permanent, you control that many +1 counters. That many +1 counters are put on that permanent instead, so you get an extra. You can tap it. You can add X mana of any 1 color where X is its power. So if you're doing a counter deck, man, this could be a huge ramp. I actually think this card is pretty fantastic, if you ask me. You can even just tap it to add 1 of any color. It's like a 3, just as good as any other kind of like mid artifact out there that adds color. I actually dig it a lot into the A tier, for real. So then we got the Kenra Spell Spear for a red and 1. It's a Jackal Warrior 2/2 with Trample and Prowess, and pay a Phyrexian blue and 3 to flip it into Gitaxian Spell Stalker, a 3/3 Phyrexian Jackal with Trample, Ward 2, and Prowess, which is super crazy. Actually, you can do some mean stuff if you're like have a deck where you're casting like, instants and sorceries, or is it non-creatures? Yeah, non-creature spells. I don't know. It's just something about this I put into the sick category. We're going to give it a B, I think. It could be close to an A, but it's a B. It's a little too slow to be an A. So for 1 red, here's Lithomantic Barrage. It's a sorcery that cannot be countered. It deals 1 damage to target creature or planeswalker. It deals 5 damage instead if that creature is white or blue. So we got some white and blue hate. It's super cheap. It's doing 1 single damage. Otherwise, I think I'm just going to throw it in the C tier. I mean, it could definitely be really good, but it's going in the C tier. Here's the Marshal of Zalfra, a blue and white human knight 2/2. Other knights you control get +1/+1. You can pay a blue and a white and tap him to tap another target creature. Kind of an expensive tap, actually. Other knights you control get +1, which is mean. It could go along with that Knight Precon really well. Maybe it's in the Knight Precon. What do I know? I really don't know a whole bunch. I think I'm throwing this in the C tier because I like knights. Otherwise, it probably would have been a D. So, Merciless Repurposing. 2 black and 4 for this instant. Exile target creature and incubate 3. It's a removal. It's super expensive. It's exile. I think it's too expensive for me. It's a D tier. All right, the Mirror Shield Hoplite. A white and a red. for a 2/2 human soldier with vigilance, and whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a backup ability, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. This ability triggers only once each turn. Sick in a backup deck, actually. It's way too specific. Here we go with a D tier on that one, I think. So Mutagen Connoisseur, it's a blue and a green and 1 for a 0/5 Veldican mutant with flying and vigilance. It gets +1/+0 for each transformed permanent you control. This could be super freaking meanie, beanie, bobini. I want to put it in the C tier but like with the transform permanents, it's just, those are so expensive. We're putting in the D tier. All right. So here's the Nazumi Freewheeler, black and 3 for this 3/3 Rat Samurai with Menace. When it enters the battlefield, each player mills 3 cards. You can pay a Phyrexian white and 5 to transform it at sorcery speeds into the hideous Flesh Wheeler Phyrexian Rat 4/5 with Menace. And when this creature transforms into hideous Flesh Wheeler, put target permanent card with mana value 2 or less from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. That can do mean things. It's just too expensive for me to like feel great about it. You're milling, it's milling. It could be great in a mill deck. I think we're going C tier. C tier for that one. Just because of the menace and the return, I guess. All right, here we go. Norn's Inquisitor for a white and 1 Phyrexian Knight 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, incubate 2. Whenever a permanent you control transforms into a Phyrexian, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Could be cool in the transform deck, especially with stuff with incubate. I actually threw it in my Brago King Eternal deck in Paper Commander. I just like this card. Again, I just like Knights. I think I'm going to throw this in the C tier. Here's the Omen Hawker. It's 1 blue for a 1/1 that taps, and you can add a blue and a colorless and spend this mana only to activate abilities. Fantastic in the transform decks. So we're going C. Oracle of Tragedy, a blue and 1 for this human wizard 1/3. When it enters the battlefield or dies, you choose one of these. Draw a card, then discard, or shuffle up to 4 target cards with mana value 3 or greater from your graveyard into your library. Draw this card. You get it twice. It's definitely not bad. Draw this card can be pretty nice. There's just something about this that I'm not feeling though. I think I'll throw it in the F. Nah, we're going up to D. That was silly of me to even think it was an F tier. It's too cheap to be in the F tier. All right, Phyrexian Awakening for a white and 2 enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, incubate 4. Phyrexians you control have vigilance. That's sick if you're in a Phyrexian deck. Incubate 4. Actually, I think this is like a C tier Phyrexian spell. It's great. So the Phyrexian Censor for a white and 2 3/3 Phyrexian wizard. Each player can't cast more than 1 non-Phyrexian spell each turn, and non-Phyrexian creatures enter the battlefield tapped. I think this card is so good, especially in a Phyrexian deck. It's like I could put it in the C tier and for like general category, but I just like it enough that it goes into the B tier for me. Like, just what a sweet card. It's like a, alt. I don't know. It's one of those just cards that slow your enemies down. I love it. All right, Phyrexian Gargantua, 2 black and 4 for a 4/4 Phyrexian Horror. When it enters the battlefield, you draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life. I mean, it's just so expensive. I like the draw though. I guess we're going D tier. It's close to F tier because it's just so expensive, but the draw 2 cards I think is what makes it worth it. If there was discard involved in that, it'd be out of here. So, Ramosian Greatsword for a red and 4. It has Convoke though. And then it's an equip cost of 2. Equipped creature gets +3/+1 and has Trample. Can do some great stuff. It's just so expensive. The Convoke cost, I'm either way with it. I'm throwing this one in the F tier. Rampaging Geoderm for a green and a red and 2 3/3 Trample Haste. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature gets +1/+1 until the end of the turn. If it's attacking a battle, put a +1/+1 counter on it instead. This is just a strange card. Gets +1, so it could target, and it's not another, so this could just be a 4/4 on a swing. I'll put it in the D tier just for that. Okay, the Ravenous Sailback. It's a green and 4 dinosaur, 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, choose one of these. It gains haste until the end of the turn, or destroy target artifact or enchantment. It's expensive. You could give it haste. I kind of feel like this is mean, though, but we're going to go C tier on this. It's just a little expensive. All right, the blue and 2 Referee Squad. Homunculus 2/2 with Convoke. Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. Super cheap and mean, actually. I think this is B tier material for me. It's like just cheap, can slow you guys down. You could get it out for basically free. I'm down with this. Render Inert, a black and 2 sorcery. Remove up to 5 counters from target permanent and draw a card. I gotta say, removing counters from permanents are actually way more amazing than you anticipate. We're throwing this one solidly into the B tier. All right, the Ruins Recluse for a green and 1/1, reach Death Touch Spider with pay a green and 3 and put a +1/+1 counter on Ruins Recluse. You know, there's nothing wrong with this card at all. Just a good old-fashioned C tier card. And then we move on to the Sandstalker Malak for 2 green and 1. It's a 4/2 lizard with flash. Enters the battlefield if an opponent casts a blue and or black spell this turn. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a permanent card from among them and put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So you got to be playing against a blue and a black. Probably good in like a game of Commander. I think I'm just going to go with... I think this is a D tier card, though, for all in all in general. Okay, for 1 black, Scornblade Berserker, 0/1, human berserker with backup 1, and you can pay 1, sacrifice this creature, and draw a card. So if you got a guy you want to get rid of, and then get rid of him, you can draw 2 for 2 mana, plus the 1 to get him out. I dig it. It's a C. It's a C. There's nothing wrong with it. Moving into the Scrappy Bruiser, a red and 3 Raccoon Warrior. That's fun. 3/4 for this Raccoon boy. Whenever he attacks, up to 1 target attacking creature gets +2/+0 and gains trample until the end of the turn. Return that creature to its owner's hand at the end of combat. So he could turn into a 5/4. You could return him. 1 target attacking creature. I don't know. He's weird. But I like raccoons. Let's go with C. And then we got the Sculpted Perfection. A black and white and 2 enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, incubate 2 Phyrexians you control. Get +1/+1 in a Phyrexian deck. This is sick nasty. I think we're going with a C tier, though, on that. So Seal from Existence, 2 white and 1 with Ward 3 enchantment. When this enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until Seal from Existence leaves the battlefield. I think this card is super good. A tier. I mean, Ward 3, get rid of a huge threat. Any permanent on the battlefield that's not a land. It's just an A tier. It's just an A tier card. You know, for the uncommons, that is. Okay, and a white and 2 Seed Pod Caretaker, Phyrexian Cleric 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1. Put a +1/+1 counter on target artifact or creature you control, or transform target incubator token you control. It's kind of interesting. +1 on target artifact or creature. I don't know. Very indifferent. D tier. D tier for me. Here's the Seer of Stolen Sight. For a black and 2 Phyrexian Warlock, 2/3 with Menace. Whenever 1 or more artifacts and or creatures you control are put into a graveyard from the battlefield, surveil 1. Dude, there's nothing wrong with this. This is actually super good when you come to think about it, because like it's artifacts 2, We're going B tier with this thing because like Surveil's a lot like Scry. You don't have to put it in the battle into the graveyard, but if you do, I mean, you could have some perks if you're in like a Reanimator deck or a deck that cares about the graveyard. I don't know. That card's sick with it. Into the Seraph of New Capenna for a white and 2 Angel Soldier 2/2 flying with a Phyrexian black and 4 to transform it into Seraph of New Phyrexia. Ooh, big scary Phyrexian Angel 3/3 with flying. When it attacks, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, it gets +2/+1 until the end of the turn. It's just so expensive though. I don't know. This is D tier for me. This is a D tier transformation angel flyer seraph. So on to this Siobhan Branch Burner for 2 red and 5, 7 total for this dragon. It does have Convoke. It's a 4/4 flying haste with Convoke. There's nothing special about it, that's for sure. D tier. And then the Skyclave Aerialist for a blue and 1. It's a 2/1 Merfolk Scout with flying. You can transform it for a Phyrexian green and 4 into the Skyclave Invader, 2/4 flyer, Phyrexian Moltfurk Scout. When this creature transforms into Skyclave Invader, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it on the battlefield. If you don't put the card on the battlefield, put it into your hand. So it's like an expensive draw potential ramp 2/4 flyer. I don't know, man. D tier as well for me on this one. Just kind of is what it is. All right. So Stoke the Flames, 2 red and 2 instant with Convoke. Deal 4 damage to any target. The Convoke cost intrigues me. I actually think we throw this up into the C tier. 4 damage is quite a bit, but I think it's still a C tier. Just a good old hurt 'em card. So here's a Storm the Seed Core, 2 green and 2. Distribute 4 +1 counters among up to 4 target creatures you control. Creatures you control gain vigilance and trample until the end of the turn. I think this card's actually super nasty. 4 +1 counters is super crazy. This is a B from me. Seed Core, okay? On to Stormclaw Rager for a red and black and 1, an Ogre Warrior, 2/2. You can pay 1, sacrifice another creature or artifact, and put a +1/+1 counter on Stormclaw Rager and draw a card. I think this card's actually sick. You could sack artifacts with it or creatures, useless creatures. If you're in a sacrifice deck, it's amazing. +1 counters, draw cards. It's only on sorcery speed. That's the only downfall, but this is a B tier card, dude. It's good. It's good stuff. So here's the Streetwise Negotiator for a green and 1. It's a 0/2 as backup 1. This creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Good if you got big butt deck. It's a Cat Citizen. I don't always play big butt deck. It depends upon the kind of game I'm playing, I guess. I don't know. It's strange. It's D tier for me. So the Sunblessed Guardian, a 1 white and 1 human cleric 2/2 with a Phyrexian red and 5 to transform it at sorcery speed into Furnace Blessed Conqueror, a 3/3 Phyrexian cleric. Whenever it attacks, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of it. Put a +1/+1 counter on that token for each +1/+1 counter on Furnace Blessed Conqueror. Sacrifice the token at the end step, and you put counter on the token. So you'd want this in a token deck. You could do crazy things with it, actually. I kind of dig it. Let's go C tier if you're in a token deck. That could just do some nasty work, right? So here's the Surge of Salvation. It's 1 white instant. You and permanents you control gain hexproof until the end of the turn. Prevent all damage that black and or red sources would deal to creatures you control this turn. I think you and permanents you control getting hexproof is actually super dope. And it's so cheap. This is a B tier. I don't know if it could even go lower than that at all. It could be an A tier because of just protection, you know, but it's a B because of the specific requirements of the other part. So here's the 2 green and 1 Tandem Takedown. Instant up to 2 target creatures you control get +1/+1/0, and they each deal damage equal to their power to another target creature, planeswalker, or battle. I think this is just a good way to kill something. Straight up B tier. great takedown card, great tandem takedown card. So, Tangled Skyline, a green and 4 enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 5 life and incubate 5, and Phyrexians you control have reach. So, you got a big Phyrexian. If you transform it, you're basically paying 7 to get the whole thing. Gain 5's good. I don't know. I don't see anything wrong with this, actually. Let's go C tier, because it could be pretty good, especially getting a clutch reach guy like that out of nowhere, plus 5 life. And Tiller of Flesh, a white and 3 Phyrexian Knight, 2/4. Whenever you cast a spell that targets one or more permanents, incubate 2. So if you're doing a targeting deck, this is nasty. I guess we're just going C tier for Knight, I guess. Wicked Slumber, a blue and 3 instant with Convoke. Tap up to 2 target creatures, put a stun counter on either of them, then put a stun counter on either of them. This is actually super nasty. Slow down, could be cheap. I love stun counters. We're going B on that one because you could, put 2 stun counters on the big threat. I don't know. It's great. Here's the Xerex Strobe Knight for a blue and 2 human knight, 2/2 with Flying Vigilance. Tap. Create a 2/2 white and blue knight creature token with vigilance. Activate only if you've cast 2 or more spells this turn. So you want this in a spell heavy deck. You create copies almost, and they all have vigilance. This guy's flying vigilance. I think he's actually super, super nasty McNasty. He's got the Xerex copy Night Boy. He's a B. He's a B quality copy guy. Final card, finally, the Zalfrin Lancer for a white and 2 human knight, 3/3. Whenever another knight enters the battlefield under control, he gets +1/+1 and gains vigilance until the end of the turn. I mean, he's cool, but whatever. D tier. He's not like he's incredible. I guess here's my list. I can't really zoom out and show you everything, but this is the best I got. You get a little bit of cutoff, but it's not too bad. I guess we have to go decide the best. Let's just start with the worst. Worst, feel like is usually easiest. The worst card is this one. I can't even remember the name of it. Now I gotta find it in this massive list of cards. Oh my gosh, here it is. Joyful Storm Sculptor. Yeah, it's just so expensive. And you have to cast Convoke spell. So, I mean, it would be great in a Convoke deck. But in my opinion, for the expense, for the specifics, for everything that it is, worst card in the uncommons from the March of the Machine set. Moving on to the best card of the March of the Machine set. I actually don't have to think about this one. I just want to make sure I say the name right on it. So I will find it. It is Seal from Existence. What a good card. Ward 3, get rid of any non-land permanent until this leaves. I mean, yeah, the Ward 3 is not the best because you could get around it. Some of these other cards are really good. Actually, there's quite a few invasions up here on this uncommon list. Furnace Reigns was a close tie. This thing's a close tie, but man, Seal from Existence, just brutal work over here for some uncommons. Well, hey, I appreciate you stopping by. Tell me, how wrong am I? What's the best uncommon that you know of? What's the worst uncommon? Is there an uncommon that literally makes you sick on the inside? I just, I appreciate you. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I just want to keep it going. I'm going to try to do a ranking video on the commons from the March of the Machine set. That's going to be another long video. That is probably going to be the longest one. I just think it's kind of silly, kind of fun. Peace out.